So, hi. Okay, I think everything is all right. Okay.
Okay.
Can you hear me? I think yes. So just one moment. Okay. Hi. We are Valentina and Alessandro from Labor 19, a project space based in Berlin. Unfortunately, we are not with you in Madrid because we have a family problem. But we want to try to do an experiment and a connection with you in streaming. First of all, we want to say thank you to Libros Mutantes to invite us, and a special thank you to Silvia Bianchi for her support in this day.
Hey Silvia.
We love you, Silvia.
Ciao.
But before we start with our streaming lecture performance, we need to do a small general introduction. So now I will read the official description of the project. All Sources Are Broken is an internet-based project developed by Labor 19. ASAB is both an artistic experiment and a collaborative re-archival practice which presents itself as an open access WCMS for the investigation of the hypertext space in post-digital books. By exploring the text through multimedia content, the website enables a contextual cross-references between books, citation, and online data. In this way, ASAP aims at expanding books content while keeping tracks at the same time of hyperlinks obsolescence. Anyone can collaborate and edit. ASAP has in view a deviation from www to desktop publishing, allowing online HTML to PDF conversion, creative layout, editing, and printing. So this was the official description. We are interested in new forms of publication in dialogue between offline and online, a movement that conducts our artistic practice to construct at the end a physical print object. But here now, rather than make a presentation of a website, we want to try to explain you the different levels of the discourse that bring us until here, until all sources are broken. So, thank you so much. We can start and have fun in Madrid. Bye.
Isn't that lovely? The pages, like flower petals or butterflies, luminous and black. Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it, whether we're young or old?
We would like to begin at two simple words, the words book and hypertext. If we wanted to ask the question about the origin of these two words and the two objects that they signal, if we wanted to ask whether it came first the book or the hypertext, the answer would appear predictable. The book, which refers to the language, is an archival technique developed with the practice of writing, whereas the hypertext, which refers to the mediums, is a computer technology that enables cross-referencing between text and multimedia files. Clearly, the two words contain per se sufficient information about their history. Nevertheless, the hypertextuality of the hypertext is not an inherent quality of the hypertext as such. What is formally embedded in a digital environment is actually detached in the material. In offline texts, the paper is a pure means, and it is precisely the book, the technology that enables the collection and provides meaning. The hypertextuality in the hypertext is not really distinguishable from the software that contains both. In other words, hypertextuality is in itself also applicable to the book, because it defers ultimately to the pure relational quality of the mind. At the same basic level of interpretation, also the language and the speech can be seen as just as many self-contained systems that inform a network of relations between mind and reality. And so it is our memory. We are living books, embodied archives.
Now here's Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. And here's The Corsair by Byron. She used to be married to a chief of police. Now that skinny fellow is Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. Where's Alice through the looking glass today? She should be somewhere about. Ah, now there's The Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan. He ate his book so they couldn't burn it. Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett. Oh, you see the little blonde coming towards us. Watch her blush.
I'm Jean-Paul Sartre's The Jewish Question. Delighted to meet you.
I'm The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury.
Allow me to introduce.
Oh, may I? The Pickwick Papers, Charles Dickens.
Oh, Charles Dickens. Once I read a book he wrote. David Copperfield.
We have a David Copperfield amongst us.
He's with another group in the South. I Am the Prince by Machiavelli.
Oh.
As you see, you can't judge a book by its cover.
I am Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice.
I am Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice.
Both of you the same book?
My brother is Volume 1.
My brother is Volume 2.
It's a great pleasure to meet you.
We call the first one Pride, the other one's Prejudice. I don't think they like it much.
The minute gap that transmits impulses between the nerve cells in our brain, enabling memory, recollection, archiving, is embodied in a hyperreality by the networking function of the hyperlink. Unlinked from the technological environment that implements it, the hypertextuality of the hypertext doesn't exist. So in order to work, the hypertextuality needs to be triggered by the call function of the hyperlink. Without active links, a hypertext would not even downgrade to a traditional text, but to a fragment. The href function of the hyperlink activates synaptical-like properties in the text, hence converting textuality into hypertextuality, words into anchors.
You've got a big stack of papers there, and I assume you wanted to make a point with that, Charlie.
Stuart, that stack of papers represents about 10% of the knowledge base that Union Carbide brought us and asked us to create an interactive knowledge encyclopedia, which is the kind of thing that HyperTIES does well, because TIES stands for the Interactive Encyclopedia System.
All right, let's get to it and show us how you did that,
yes.
Charlie.
The good news was that a lot of this was available as electronic files because it was word processed. Some had to be scanned.
Which is what we're seeing now.
Which is what you're seeing there. And what we did was we marked up those files with some of the commands that we used to indicate how they are to be cross-linked.
Okay.
We then ran it through our auto import program, which takes that information and will do 10, 20, 100, or in one case we recently had 20,000 articles that had to be run through and creates the electronic database. Our mission, I should say, is to create the electronic book, to take the book from a static paper-based environment to a dynamic electronic environment. And in a couple of seconds, when it gets to the end of this, you'll be able to see the electronic book that's being created out of this
What's it
data.
doing here, Charlie? What are we watching?
It's adding articles and creating links, and occasionally giving me something in red, warning me that there's a link that hasn't been defined, so that I can go back and fix that up later. And the end result of this process is the electronic book you're about to see on the screen, which is all the information about this particular product line. This is the cover. I can open the cover, and it takes me to a preface. And the look and feel, by the way, is totally under the control of the author. The design department of Cognetics picked this up. All I have to do to get around it is to move this bar, which I can do with a mouse, a touch screen, or the keyboard, and I can go to an article. Anything in blue is a link to additional information. So I've gone from that to a new article. This article has a graphic embedded in it. I might go take a look at, let's say, fermentation process, and that gives me a detailed diagram of that process. Or I can come up and easily backtrack with a keystroke and look at other elements.
But if in a traditional medium, the hypertextuality is still situated in the mind, activated by the relational quality of the mind, where is the networking function of the hyperlink actually situated? Who or what is supposed to embody hyperqualities? More concretely, where can the networking function of the hyperlink be found on paper? Take, for instance, an URL cited in an offline text. What should this link indicate exactly, and how would it be able to keep track of the change in its digital target? Where does the neural simulacrum of the hyperlink vanish when the URL is printed on paper through ink transfer and not dynamically generated? Trying to retrieve a URL cited in a page of a book can easily deliver frustration, especially if that book is not new. The online media resources cited on paper can break at any moment and lead to an impasse. Occasionally they can resurface up to date in other portions of text, in other books, but they cannot persist across the gap between the material and the digital. The online media resources are shifting objects, floating particles within the continuum of the network. Hyperlinks become easily obsolete.
Obsolete?
You have disgraced the state. You have proven yourself a coward. You have therefore no function. You are obsolete.
But I'm not. I'm not obsolete.
You are obsolete.
Obsolete.
You are obsolete.
Obsolete. You're making a terrible mistake. Tragic mistake. I'm not obsolete. I've worked for the state. I've helped the state. I've helped give the state strength. How can you call me obsolete? How can you? Please, I'm not obsolete. Please, I'm not obsolete. I have a function, I have a purpose. Please, I want to serve the state, please. Please, no. I'm not obsolete. No, please, I'm not obsolete, no. I want to serve the state. Please, please. No. Serve the state.
Like in book reading, we proceed letter by letter, word by word, page by page, collecting meanings. We make a constant use of the citation. We cite, we are cited ourselves, we archive. The practice of the citation is inherited in the technology of the hypertext as a read-write call, while the text as such has always been the place of the citation. To anchor the online media sources in an offline textual discourse is a modality of making archive that takes into account the possible inconsistency of the hyperlink, and this practice focuses not merely on preservation, but actually on the experimental use of the archive. It is about a re-archival practice, a montage of the montage. The first results in the research on URL persistency, like the Uniform Resource Locator or the Digital Object Identifier, are presented today as a prerogative of the academic discourse, not only as for the pure research and the technical side, but also and especially as for the use and the benefits that might derive from the deployment of new hyperlink technologies. We will be probably seeing in the next future thousands of perfectly well-organized online archives, though locked behind login form. The possibility and the significance of such an exploitation of knowledge is radically different and yet incommensurable with the one that happens in the material world. Here is where the link wants to serve the state and not to be classified as obsolete. But the broken directionality opened by hyperlinks' obsolescence, these obscure trajectories, these muted signals, all of the possible disruptions disclose a natural latency that resemble the digital and the human. We do not write, we cite. So let us be spoken here by these words of Jean-Jacques Derrida.
The sign is usually said to be put in the place of the thing itself, the present thing. Thing here standing equally for meaning or referent. The sign represents the present in its absence. It takes the place of the present. When we cannot grasp or show the thing, state the present, the being present. When the present cannot be presented, we signify. We go through the detour of the sign. We take or give signs. We signal. The sign, in this sense, is deferred presence, whether we are concerned with the verbal or the written sign, with the monetary sign, or with electoral delegation and political representation. The circulation of signs defers the moment in which we can encounter the thing itself, make it ours, consume or expend it, touch it, see it, intuit its presence. What I am describing here in order to define it is the classically determined structure of the sign in all the banality of its characteristic signification as the difference of temporization. And this structure presupposes that the sign, which defers presence, is conceivable only on the basis of the presence that it defers and moving toward the deferred presence that it aims to reappropriate. According to this classical semiology, the substitution of the sign for the thing itself is both secondary and provisional. Secondary due to an original and lost presence from which the sign thus derives. Provisional as concerns this final and missing presence toward which the sign in this sense is a movement of mediation.
We can observe here the impossibility of a synchronization. We temporize due to the shift of the sign and the deferral nature of the presence. In order to understand the thing, we do not only need to accept the circle of preconditions that now and again localize our particular understanding. We also need to understand the dissimulation, which is the latency where the object as well as our mind are given.
Tropische Regenwald baut sich in 5 Stockwerken übereinander auf. Die Triebfeder lässt Wachstums ist zur Lichtmauer im Regenwald. Deshalb überzieht den Urwald.
Walter Benjamin kaufte 1921 Paul Klees Aquarell Angeles.
Über sie hinweg ziehen die Kraniche, fliegen und schaut den Kopf fest auf dem Hals.
Die seltene Implantation im kurzen interstitiellen Teil geht ebenfalls mit einer Ruptur der Tube einher. Gelegentlich ist eine Uterausweitung mit dran. Der Fruchttod erfolgt gewöhnlich im 2. bis 3. Schwangerschaftsmonat, relativ spät. Gelegentlich weisen ähnliche Implantationen interstitiellen Teil. Erzeuger bis zum letzten Abbauhorn durchlaufen die Waren meist mehrere Stufen. Resistent kipiciye kadar ağırlığı çok
Manche Stadionstierkämpfer
Herstellung, Weiterverarbeitung,
Gleich diese vielen Gleichungen kann man zusammenfassen zu einer Einsicht. Der Vorteil dieses Vorgangs besteht darin, dass jetzt für alle Gleichungen der Formungsquadrat des Ax plus b sozusagen auf einmal eine Lösung angegeben werden kann. Falls überhaupt eine existiert, etwa minusartig 2 plus Wurzel aus a Quadrat durch 4 minus b. So einfach ist es.
בראשית ברא אלוהים את השמיים ואת הארץ. והארץ הייתה תוהו ובוהו.
Nächtens will ich mit dem Engel reden, ob er meine Augen noch erkennt. Wenn er plötzlich fragte, schaust du Eden? Und ich müsste sagen,
Cassia, the angel of solitudes and tears, who shows forth the unity of the eternal kingdom.
erschienen als der Herr.
Also everyone prays on the side of heaven and all the saints.
To direct structural investigations, molecular cloning provides DNAs of absolute sequence purity for application, as hybridization works in many other areas of molecular biology. Also within
The sequence of Wim Wenders shows the library as the space of the spirit. The silence in this library is not silent, but a resonant silence composed by the thoughts of the readers, which in turn reverberate from the pages of the books. These silent discourses, those inner resonances, and the dialogue of the spirit will be heard only by the angels, the protector and the keepers of the harmony. There are only a few other places like the library, because each library contains a music in itself. Maybe the cathedrals or the auditoriums are architected as much masterfully as the libraries, so that the spirit can resound within their spaces. According to the pre-scientific understanding of the world, back to the Western modern era, The three main dimensions of the cosmos, the underground, the middle and the upper world, are mutually connected to form a oneness. Like for a plugged string, a vibration at one level of the world would produce an oscillation on the other levels and propagate through like acoustic waves. An architectural approach in the design of a library must involve elements of orchestration and precise aural knowledge that aim to amplify the spirit and make it sharp.
Sa fiche signalétique est établie sommairement. Après quoi, prisonnier, il attend que vienne le jour du classement. Une fois par semaine, les livres sont soumis à un tri pour être répartis dans les différentes sections du service du catalogue. Certains, comme celui-ci, sont inscrits sur un fichier de collection. On situe le livre. On détermine à quelle science il se rattache. On l'identifie. On l'indexe. Électroniquement, on diffuse son signalement. 20 fiches le décrivant sont intercalées dans différents classeurs parmi les millions d'autres fiches qui font de cette salle des catalogues le cerveau de la Bibliothèque nationale. Ces richesses, il faut les préserver. C'est pourquoi l'air est contrôlé, l'atmosphère corrigée. Une machinerie, pareille à celle du capitaine Nemo, maintient une température constante, favorable au papier, au cuir, au parchemin.
If the space of the library amplifies the inner resonance of the spirit, the space of the data center enhances the computational qualities of the mind. The aesthetic of the data center reflects pure effectiveness and quantification. Its beauty is the beauty of the complexity. But whether both of these environments are sublime, both expose the double nature of the archive. Both the library and the data center let the archive to emerge in its integral duality. The double nature of the archive is basically a subtext of power and law, a dialectical, never-ending cycle of order and revolution. There is always a surplus value in the archive, because every archive is at once institutive and conservative, revolutionary and traditional. An economic archive in this double sense, that it keeps, it puts in reserve, it saves, but in an unnatural fashion, that is to say, in making the law nomos, or in making people respect the law. We are interested in retracing the sources in order to expose them or even to explode them in a new vision that can disorganize the established cycle of order and revolution.
But you know, now that I come to look at it, you may want it over here instead.
Good. I'll tear off a new control panel.
You see, Austin can drop the new fuel cell right into place.
This is wonderful, Adrian. Here's AJ. I got the poor guy up at the crack of dawn.
The problematic of the book led us here to an open interrogation. Is the online-offline migration possible? Where should the circulation between these two domains occur, between the world of the engineered mind and the world of the mind, between the digital and the material? There is an unutterable latency between the language and the text, like a sort of elusive and ever-differing repositioning, like a quantic gap, because our being is in itself an experience of non-linearity, a radical practice of non-synchronism. We are disconnected. We exist in non-real time. Within this twist of delay and decay, we continuously need to recycle the cycle, to rewind, to effectively realign in order to connect to the symbolic order.
I'm there right now.
What do you mean you're where right now?
At your house. That's fucking crazy, man. Call me. Dial your number. Go ahead. I told you I was here.
How'd you do that?
Ask me.
How'd you get inside my house?
You invited me. It is not my custom to go where I'm not wanted.
Who are you?
Give me back my phone.
The space of the montage is more real than the reality that it tries to overstep. Like in a dream, the synchronicity resets the latency to zero, to let emerge the symbolic, the imaginary, and the real simultaneously. This is the moment when the other side becomes visible. It is the moment of the paradox, a rupture that subtracts while expanding. The sudden encounter of the sides of the duality creates a new cycle of deconstruction, reconstruction. The one gravitates towards the other, and the whole cycle shifts in turns. It is a linking of forces that interact and exchange with each other at all times and in no time.
betray you? Why do you look so sad?
I have failed you, Empress.
No, you haven't. You brought him with you.
Who?
The Earthling child. The one who can save us all.
You knew about the Earthling child?
Of course. I knew everything.
My horse died. I nearly drowned. I just barely got away from the nothing. For what? To find out what you already knew?
It was the only way to get in touch with an Earthling.
But I didn't get in touch with an Earthling.
Yes, you did. He has suffered with you. He went through everything you went through. And now, he has come here. With you. He is very close, listening to every word we say.
What? Where is he? If he's so close, why doesn't he arrive?
He doesn't realize he's already a part of the never-ending story.
The never-ending story? What's that?
Just as he is sharing all your adventures, others are sharing his. They were with him when he hid from the boys in the bookstore.
But that's impossible!
They were with him when he took the book with the orange symbol on the cover, in which he's reading his own story right now.
I can't believe it! They can't be talking about me! What will happen if he doesn't appear?
Then our world will disappear. And so will I.
How could he let that happen?
He doesn't understand that he's the one who has the power to stop it. He simply can't imagine that one little boy could be that important.
Is it really me? Maybe he doesn't know what he has to do! What do I have to do?
He has to give me a new name. He's already chosen it. He just has to call it out.
But it's only a story. It's not real. It's only a story.